Welcome to Witness Wednesday here on the Walk Boldly with Jesus podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Duggan. However, each Wednesday, I will have a guest give their witness of how God is working in their lives. Hearing how God is working in other people's lives shows us how deeply He cares for each one of us individually. Listening to these experiences will help your faith grow. I am so blessed to be able to share these with you. Let's get started. Today's witnesses come from the Bethel.com/testimonies website. I found the first testimony because I have a friend who is struggling with fibromyalgia. I believe that Jesus can heal even chronic diseases that have no human cure, and I know testimony builds faith. I searched specifically for a testimony about a miraculous healing of fibromyalgia, so my friend would know it is possible, and hopefully she would keep asking and believing she can be healed too. On that same website, I saw the second two witnesses, which are actually about the same event, just from the two different people who were involved. The second witness is about curing cerebral palsy. If you know anyone who needs a healing, pass this Witness Wednesday along to them, and maybe it will give them the hope they need to believe that God can heal them too. January 5, 2021, a woman is healed of pain and symptoms of fibromyalgia. When I was 12, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I have heard that about 85% of women with fibromyalgia have some kind of severe childhood trauma, and that was the case with me. I had it for 17 years. I could hardly walk or stand. My pain level was 10. I was on 16 medications, 86 pills a day for 6 or 7 years. I received very limited help. In those 17 years, I probably prayed about 700 times. I had seen other healings. I believed in healing. On December 6, 2009, I was at a church service, call for prayer, but I wasn't going to go up. I told the Lord I knew He could heal me, but I didn't have the energy to hope that He would. A friend said to me, "You're going up for prayer." I said, "No, I'm not." My friend added, "Either you're going up yourself or I'm dragging you up there." I went up and they laid hands on me, and I knew 95% of the pain had already gone down. I don't know if they got 2 or 3 words out of their mouths before all the pain left. Before that, I went back to the doctor, who was Muslim, and asked to be taken off all my medication. He was skeptical. I told him I believed in Jesus, and Jesus had healed me. On my medical chart, it says spontaneous remission. Those words don't actually exist for fibromyalgia. Doctors are limited in what they can say because it doesn't go away for them. There are pressure points for fibromyalgia, and they were not there anymore for me. 2 first-year BSSM students experienced a miracle when one prayed over the other, and breakthrough from a lifelong affliction resulted. Karina's story. On December 1, 2022, I went to our activation, healing, and pastoral care. The leader, Roy, was talking about The Chosen, a season 3 episode in which a disciple spoke to Jesus and wanted healing. And Jesus said He wanted to heal him, but it would glorify Him more if he stayed with his infirmity. This was uncomfortable for me because I really liked The Chosen and I didn't want to criticize it, but this scene was disturbing to me. As we discussed this in one of our classes, we decided, let's pray the actor gets healed. He had cerebral palsy, and we thought that maybe they wrote that in the script because of that. We said we did not want to change our theology according to our experience, but to model our theology to fit who God is. We prayed for that actor to be healed, so they would have to change the storyline. We came to worship afterwards. I usually don't go to the front, but Peyton, my friend, always does. That day, I was in the front with her. I turned around and said to her, "Healing on your body." Peyton said, "Yay." She receives so easily. I thought, maybe I can be a little more intentional. I turned to her and said, "Hey, we just talked about cerebral palsy this morning, and we prayed. Can I pray for you?" I had already prayed for her before because she had told me she had cerebral palsy. I put my hand on her and prayed for realignment of her body and for every cell to vibrate to the frequency of heaven. I asked her to test it out. To be honest, I was expecting, but I was not expecting at the same time. She straightened and said, "Ooh, my back just cracked." She held her arms out and said, "Are my arms the same length?" Her right arm was about an inch shorter than the left arm before. She started crying because she realized they were the same length. I started crying too. I asked her to try out her leg, which would always hurt. I understood that her whole life her foot would spasm every time she stretched it out. It would hurt when she stood on it the whole day, and she would drag her foot a little behind her at the end of the day. She took her foot out of her slipper and stretched out her leg. But it did not spasm or hurt. She kept crying. I said, "You have to go up on stage and share." The next day I thought, is she still healed? I was happy I experienced this, but I wanted it to be permanent. I texted her and asked if she was still healed, and she said yes. Her brain is now able to control her right side properly. I was so overwhelmed with joy and so honored to be the one that got to pray for her. Peyton's story. I was born with cerebral palsy. I had a stroke in the womb that caused a blood clot and the scarring on my brain. For the first 5 years of my life, I would walk on my tiptoes. My biological dad did that too, so they didn't think anything of it at first. I started doing sports and I would say, "My leg hurts." It would spasm. So they did an MRI and it showed cerebral palsy. I started going to PT and wore a cast to correct my foot because my bone structure was off because of how I walked. I had to wear a plastic foot brace when the cast came off to keep my foot trained. I wore that for 6 months to a year. After that, I could not do sports. You could not tell by looking at me that something was wrong, but as I got older, I noticed more things because it progressed. I understood what was happening, but did not think about it. I was not concerned about getting healed, and my family are not yet Christians. When I came to BSSM, Karen asked me about my limp. People would say to me, "I'm praying for you." I did not think I needed healing because it became part of my life. We got to the worship set in December. When Karina laid hands on me and said, "Be healed," I felt something right then. I could feel that I did not have pain in my calf from jumping, and I always have pain. Then she prayed for me, and my back was the first thing that I noticed was different. I could crack my back. My arms did not extend normally, so a nerve would pinch if I turned it the wrong way, and pain would shoot down to my thumb. I put my arms out after she prayed because I could feel something had shifted in my leg. The most obvious thing I could think of to test was to put my arms out. At that moment, when someone's hand was there and my fingers touched it, I heard God say, "It's done." I could feel it from my head to my toe. All my fingers had a different feeling. I could now hold a pen correctly. I used to have to hold it like a little kid in my fist. I pointed my foot, and that was the craziest thing because it wasn't uncomfortable. The next couple of days, I could feel my whole body in a different way. The next morning, I woke up and thought, I hope it's still there. He's God, so it should be there. I wrote my name the next morning with my right hand. I told all my roommates. For the next 4 days, I could feel the weirdest sensations. It was like wires were clicking all over my body. I cracked my back every 2 seconds because I couldn't do that before. I could rotate my arm without it clicking. The smallest thing, like being able to hold a pen, is the biggest joy. It was hard to explain that to my friends growing up. My eyes would droop when I was tired. My muscle function would give out. I did not realize how much I missed until I had it. I went on a walk. My leg wasn't tired afterward. If I jumped, I did not have pain in my calf. My mom is a nurse. I told her what happened, and she said, "You need an MRI." When I went home for Christmas break, I pointed my foot for her. She said, "Okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm happy." I went to a youth group that I used to work at. I told a girl with a broken foot, "I'm going to release this over you." In the middle of the service, she stood up and looked at me. Then she jumped on her broken foot, removed her cast, and it was healed. I asked what had clicked for her. She said she felt the Lord tell her to close her eyes for a second. She saw the clip in The Chosen where Jesus healed the paralytic. She thought, if Peyton was healed, I could be healed. I think it's ironic that the same show that sparked the discussion that led to my healing, God used in her healing as well. Thank you all for sharing your stories. God is amazing, and He is still doing miraculous healings every day. However, we won't ever know about them if people aren't brave enough to talk about them. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story so that others can hear your testimony, which can help strengthen their faith. They can hear your testimony and see that if God can heal you, He can heal them too. We have all seen God working in our lives. However, we might not all be aware it is God who is working in our lives. This is why it's so important we start talking about it more. The more we share our experiences, the more people understand how God works and how much He truly loves us. If you would be willing to share any of your experiences of how God has worked in your life, please email me at Catherine@findingtruenorthcoaching.com. CATHERINE at findingtruenorthcoaching.com. Or you can click on the link below. It won't take up much of your time, and your story could be just the story someone needs to hear today. Please prayerfully consider sharing your story. Everyone has one, and the world needs to hear them. I look forward to spending time with you again tomorrow. Remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. I will have another witness for you next Wednesday. Have a blessed day.